This is Em Griffin, author of A First Look at Communication Theory, and he's graciously agreed to this interview where he will discuss with my communication class COM 207, Introduction to the Communication Discipline, Part 1, our research project with life's transitions. And my interest is in having you take a look at these theories that you're so well acquainted with and to see which ones best articulate with our research questions. Your informed opinion would be most appreciated.
Well, I appreciate the chance to review the theories and see which I think might have something to say or inform on these. I will assume that your class at this late stage in the semester or term, that these folks are aware of the theories, and so I'm not going to explain the theories, I'll just refer to things in them, okay?
Good idea, thank you.
Okay, first of all, how do we motivate people to volunteer to work with life transition? At the very end of the book, when I talk about different communication threads that run through the theories, the first one is about motivation. And I stress that we don't motivate people, we tap into the motivation that's already in them. And some of the theories are talking about the need for achievement, or the need for power, or the need for affiliation. And power is not a dirty thing here. It could be a need to have impact on your world. Right in symbolic interactionism, the first theory I have in the ethical reflection, I talk about Levinas, who says basically, we are our brother's keeper. And there may be people who feel that, who are do-gooders in the best sense of the word, who care about others, and of course you can tap into that motivation. Cognitive dissonance theory suggests that we don't try and persuade people that it'd be a good idea to volunteer, and then they act. It is to get them to act, to do something of the volunteer nature. And as long as it's voluntary, then the attitude will come along with as a result. And maybe that's one volunteer asking another person to come along with them. I'm assuming your volunteers have contact with the people who are in life transition. And to go see it is the best way. I do a lot of work with a volunteer organization, Opportunity International, and anything I can do to get our folks to see people in poverty, that they aren't all glum and everything, but that they have things to share with us, they get excited. Of course, when you're talking about getting the people to volunteer, you're trying to influence them. Elaboration likelihood model, ELM, says there's two routes to persuasion. One is peripheral route and one is the central route. Given the fact that your volunteers are going to be put into anxiety producing cross-cultural situations, the peripheral route probably will not work. So you're going to have messages that they can chew on and think about. Now, there's no guarantee they'll accept them, but just saying everybody's doing it, or I'll give you $10 to do it, or something like that, that's not going to work. Symbolic convergence theory says that shared fantasies draw people together, a cohesiveness. And I assume that you're going to get more than one or two volunteers, and if you get the volunteers together and they talk about their experience, and not just in factual terms, but they tell story, they use metaphors, they look back to what happened or project into the future, not talking about the here and now, but the there and then. That can make the group cohesive, which can be a very motivating thing. I've done a number of volunteer things in low-income housing projects, and talking with others who are doing it is a powerful motivator and draw. If not at the start, once you start doing it, it keeps you doing it. Dramatism, Burke talks about the guilt redemption cycle, and all of us have all sorts of guilt. And when we see people who've been incarcerated and are now out and may even be homeless now, or that are disadvantaged, we may feel all sorts of guilt that we have a whole lot more than they do. And the tendency will be look for a scapegoat, maybe even these same people, and say, well, they deserved it. They, committed a crime, or, yeah, I know they're disabled, but, and we've got to be aware of this. And volunteering to do something to help the problem is a much healthier way of getting rid of our guilt than looking for a scapegoat. I don't know that I talk about that with people, but it's good to realize it. And of course, Burke says that without identification, there's no persuasion. And maybe the identification comes with other volunteers or people in the program. Maybe it comes with those who are disadvantaged if there can be points of contact. But there's got to be that some kind of identification. Speech codes theory, right toward the end of the book, says that every culture and every subculture has its own speech code. And I know when I've worked with those that are very different than me, now that I'm an old guy, when I work with teenagers or when I work in low-income housing communities, I have to listen to the lingo. I don't try and become the other person, but it's good to be able to speak in the language of the other person, not necessarily pick up an accent, something like that communication accommodation theory would say, but to accommodate in ways, maybe it's talking slower,